Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make our label group style industrial techno in the style of Parallx and Kobosil. As usual, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets. All of that stuff in this video is available in the description right at the top. You go check that out on my Bandcamp, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. So, first sound we have here is this kick, which sounds like this. This is, as you can hear, a very big and booming kick. When you play it on its own, it's almost too big. Part of that is the mastering stuff. But it's just this big, boomy, nice, punchy, almost like old school techno sort of kick. And this is the type of kick that's used a lot in these types of tracks. You know, I've heard this all over Parallx's tracks as well as Kobosil's tracks. Just this label in general, they love these like really big, fat, kind of, like I said, old school style kicks. So we just have this in here. Just got a little bit of drum bus on it. There's without that. And then with it, you can hear the drum bus just kind of takes it, again, without it. And with it. So the drum bus is just that thing that takes it out of the sample pack and into the track. And yeah, that's it for the kick. It's really simple. It's more just about getting like this type of ravey, old school techno sort of kick that still has a very modern and hard-hitting punch to it. And if you want this one, link is in the description. After that, we have the bass, which sounds like this. So you can hear the bass is just playing this long, droning G sharp. It's just straight 16th notes the whole way through. And yeah, this just gives us like a really powerful driving bass, especially when you play it with the kick. You can hear when you play those two together, they kind of even out really nicely. And it just gives you this really full bass. The way I think of it is like, you know, a lot of times with techno, especially industrial techno, you would have like a distorted rumble. And especially when you get to this more industrial style, you'll typically have it be like very punchy and very fat like this in the low end. And then it also will have some nice mid-range to it. So this is just recreating that same power and fullness that you get with that, but with a synth. So for the synth sound on this one, it's made using analog. You can see we just have two saw waves. I've got those, the second one's detuned a little bit, and then they're going into a low-pass filter, which has an envelope on it and is making it kind of more plucky. If I turn the envelope off, you can hear. And yeah, we got a little bit of resonance. Then we have the amp envelope set like this. This is really important because we have a lot of distortion, as you can see. And just sort of like a lot of stuff adding some that can kind of take away, I mean to say, from the dynamics of the sound. So like this amp envelope, like if I turn off the distortion, you can hear it's almost like a little bit too short. You know, it's just like a quick little da-da-da-da. But then once you add all this stuff, like you need to be short like this to still get that definition out of the bass. And yeah, then after that we have a bit of chorus. Here's without it. You can hear this really helps with that kind of more like deep, ravey type of sound like you want with this. And it really adds to the detuning as well that we already have going on in the synth. After that we have this notch filter. So here's without this. And then with it. So speaking of making this sound very ravey and very kind of like crunchy in that sense, this is really important for that because you can hear without it, it just has a little bit too much of those like low mid-range frequencies, but then when you add this on, it just cuts them out and gives it that nice kind of like respace-esque sort of almost like Hoover bass-esque texture to it, you know? And this is really important. I've done this on the lead as well. We'll talk about that in a sec. But like, you really need to do this with these types of tracks because you're just not gonna quite get that same like sonic patina without it. Again, without it, and then with it. After that, we have 3 distortions and then the drum bus. So I'll just turn these off and show you what's happening from scratch. Here's without anything. And then with the erosion, you can hear that adds some nice crunch and really brings out the mid-range because this bass needs to be very fat in the low end and then very fat in the mid-range. And I find with this, you know, it keeps the low end intact, but then you still get that nice, very full and powerful mid-range. After that, we have the Saturator, which sounds like this. So just adding a bit more intensity, a bit more fullness to the sound. You can see I got the drive there. We've got the analog clip turned up a little as well. Again, just kind of fills it out a bit more and really starts to bring it to life. After that, we have this bass amp, which sounds like this. So you can hear that adds that last little bit of like fullness and sort of like saturated texture to the sound. And also, it really helps to focus it into the low end because the erosion and the saturator were working really hard to make the mid-range sound full, and they do that. But now we need something to kind of bring back that low end fullness. So putting it through a bass amp is really good for that because it still keeps that high end intact. And actually adds to it a little bit, but then it's also filling out the low end a bit. And then we have this drum bus, which sounds like this. So there's just like that last little bit of fullness to the sound to really make sure that it's hitting as hard as it can. And like I said, you know, you're trying to make this as fat as a rumble kick would be. And typically like a rumble low end sort of distorted kick like that, or at least the rumble part of it, would have just a lot of like fullness to it like this, you know? This really just takes it and brings out that bass while crunching the whole thing together really nicely. And yeah, after that we have this EQ8. Here's without it. And then with it. So you can see it's doing a few things. It's cutting at 100 hertz, which makes a little bit of room for the kick, because that's typically where the kick is punching. It's also doing some pretty sharp boosts in the kind of like high mid-range, and then in the low end, and also in the high end a little. So this is more of like a sound design EQ. Like, you know, obviously, if I was EQing this specifically for mixing, I wouldn't want to go higher or lower than +6 or -6 dB. But because this is really just to take the sound that we've kind of created with these like 4 distortions that can kind of be, you know, a little out of control, as you can hear. And then this just kind of shapes it and helps us to kind of design the sound that we want. Yeah, then we have this utility just doing the bass mono, because we do have that chorus on there, which can make things a bit too wide, especially in the low end. Here's without this. Yeah, the low end doesn't sound as powerful. But then when we add it, we still get the nice mid-range with the chorus, and the high end has that chorus on it, so there's still some width to the sound, but we're getting a nice, fat, mono low end. And then finally, we just have this auto pan, which is simulating a side chain, so here's without that. And then with it, just makes it kind of bounce off of the kick. And yeah, and then I have those in a group just to kind of glue them together. Again, I was thinking of this the same way I would think of a rumble kick. So when I make a rumble kick, what I do is I would have like the kick on its own, and then we put the rumble on, and then you'd probably put like some saturation or something like that on both of them, and usually a bit of EQ as well, to kind of glue them together. You know, you want this to sound like one thing. That's the purpose of this. So here's without this stuff. You can hear it is the kick and bass, but they don't sound so together. The low end isn't so cohesive. And then when we add these, there we go. It really glues these together. So the first thing here is just a bit of drum bus. We got the drive up. We got the crunch up a little as well. We've got that on the medium setting. And then I have the transients up a little. And then I also have a little bit of this boom. So here's without this. And then with it, you can hear it just gives it that real like fullness that you need. And the boom also helps with the low end to really get it on the level like you need it to be to hold up with these kinds of tracks. And then we have this EQ8. So here's without this. So this is what I was talking about with like mixing EQ. You can see this is a lot more simple than the one we had on the bass. And this is just to kind of mix these together because it can be a little bit unwieldy, as you can hear coming out of the drum bus. But then we just cut a little bit of low mid-range to kind of clean out some mud, and then we boost the low end. And there you go, you get a perfect sound. And yeah, that is it for the low end. After that, we have the lead, which sounds like this. So for the notes on this one, it's really just based around G sharp. You can see that's the note that's playing the most. It's pretty much just going do, 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 do. And then we just have these little 16th notes here from a few other notes. Like you can see, we got F sharp, so that's a minor 7th. We have G sharp up here again. We got G sharp down here. We've got an A, which is just one note up from G sharp, another G sharp. Yeah, another A. You can see, really simple. It's pretty much just this kind of like dark, very simple scale. This is one of the easiest scales to play with. It's literally just like you pick a note, like in this case G sharp. It's just those three notes and just kind of playing around with that, and then having this very like kind of like energetic pattern. For the sound, this one is also made using analog. Analog is really good for these like kind of ravey, super saw type of just big fat sounds. You can see this one actually is 2 square waves. So even though I said it was a super saw, you can see we just got 2 square waves here. I've got the pulse width turned up on both of those a little. They're the same octave, and then I've got them detuned. You're going into a low-pass filter with, again, a very short envelope. We got the amp envelope set like that. We have a bit of a notch filter, so again, here's without this. And then with it. Like I said, this is very important for getting that kind of like ravey sonic texture that you're going for. Then after that, we have a bit of chorus to spread the sound out. We have a bit of saturation to make it fatter. Here's without that. And then with it, we have an auto pen, which is simulating side chaining into the kick. And then finally, we just have this high pass filter. And then I've also got this going to ascend. So the idea with ascend here is I wanted to basically have this kind of like sort of crunchy texture in the background of the lead where you still have the main part of the lead, which is just very fat and full synth. But then we can have some reverb on that and some delay that will have sort of a crunchy texture to it, and it's going to make the sound kind of just have a lot more depth. So you can see we just have a bit of echo, a bit of reverb, like I said, to give the sound some space. And then I have those going into an erosion. So that's how we get the crunch on the sound. You can see it's just in the high end. It's just adding that little bit of like over top of it all. Then we have a bit of drum bus to fatten the sub. Here's without it. You know, this isn't just to fatten everything up. Also, like, it really helps to bring out the reverb and the delay, like, and kind of bring them on the same level as the lead, so it's all even and it's not feeling weird dynamically. And then finally, we just have an auto pan simulating a side change with the kick. And yeah, that is it for the lead. After that, the last thing we have here is the percussion, which sounds like this. So what's going on here is we have kind of like a few main things, and then we have some background stuff. So the two main things here will be this hi-hat. So just like a standard sort of hard-hitting, punchy hi-hat. You can see we shortened it a little with the amplitude envelope. And then this clap here. And the key to these kind of claps is just making them like as fat as they can possibly be. And the way you do this is by pitching them down and then saturating them. So you can see I pitched this one down -2. Here was the original. And then you can see it's already a pretty hard-hitting sound, but then you pitch it down more. And that's how you really get that like full sound. And then I've added the saturation and the drum bus here. So here's without these. And then with them, you can hear how it's like really essential to getting this to like really hit the way you need it to for the style. And then after that, we have these sort of like background things, which would be the tambourine and these shakers. So the shakers are just these two little samples that I have. You can see they're in a drum rack here. I made this little pattern. You know, it gives it a very like loopy feel. And it's easy to do. All you have to do is just take like a shaker and just chop it like this. And it gives it, like I said, like this loopy sort of old school feel. And then we have the tambourine, which is just following what that's doing. Like they're both basically playing 16th notes. But the tamborine's just on there to add that high end. If I turn that off, you can hear like when we have just the shakers in the mix, it doesn't quite have that like sharpness to it. But then when we add the tambourine, you get that. So yeah, and then I just have the percussion in a group. So on the group, we just have a bit of drum bus and a bit of EQ8 to glue these together. Here's without these. And then with them. So you can hear how this stuff is essential to make the percussion like really come together. and really sound full, and also like just hold up in the track. You know, it's like if you have all these other super loud and powerful sounds, and then you don't have this stuff on the percussion, it just sounds weird. Like the track isn't really hitting right. And then when you add these, there you go. So yeah, just the drum bus, got that on the medium setting, a little bit of drive, a little bit of crunch to kind of fatten everything up and make the volume levels a little bit more even. And then we have an EQ8, which is just cutting out the low end, boosting the highs a little bit, you know, kind of cleaning it up so that it doesn't get in the way of the bass, and then making sure we get those like nice sparkly highs. And yeah, that is it for the percussion, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. So I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything that I'm just showing you in this video is available right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp. So if you guys want to support me and also get an awesome project file and presets and MIDI and samples to play with, it's a great way to do it. Like I said, link is right at the top of the description. If you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.